Nebraska! This is Training Blend, the official podcast of the State of Nebraska Training and Development Team. Hello, Nebraska. Welcome to another episode of Training Blend, the official podcast of the State of Nebraska Training and Development Team. We are here with a very special guest today. And before we get started, we'll go around the room so we can find out who all's here. I'm Lisa Minke.
Hi, this is Renee.
Hi, this is Debbie.
Hey, it's Katie.
This is Mary Beth.
And with us all the way from San Francisco is our very special guest, Sam Steele.
So excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you.
Welcome to
Thank
Nebraska.
you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I hope it's treated you well.
It has. It has.
Honestly, it's not for everyone.
Nice. That's our official state marketing thing.
I
right
have
now.
heard. I
Yes.
learned at the Omaha Chamber of Commerce yesterday, and I feel like I might be a Nebraskan because I don't coast either.
Nice.
You need to come back.
Yeah, I will.
Sam, we have some questions for you that you were prepared for, but we also have some hot seat questions for you.
All right. My seat is warm.
Good. All right, so let's get started with the lightning round. All right.
Bacon or sausage? Bacon.
Drive or fly?
Fly.
Okay.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning. I mean, afternoon, really. But of those choices, morning.
Country or city?
Well, I am a San Franciscan who has lived in New York, so I think the correct answer, given my past history, is city, but I'm looking forward to a country lifestyle very soon.
Well, you are in Nebraska. So
I am in Nebraska. I'm being inspired.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Favorite vacation spot?
So my whole family goes to this little cabin in a tiny town in the mountains in California called Twain Harte every single year. We've been doing it for 22 years. So I'd have to say that's my favorite vacation spot.
Do you go to the same cabin
The
every
same
year?
cabin. Thank God they still rent it. I don't know what we'll do if that family ever sells that house, but we've been renting it for 22 years.
You're probably the reason that they keep renting it out.
Actually, there's a lot of families that do the same thing.
Oh.
We actually read the guest book. There's a ton of families who have been doing, everybody has their week reserved for the summer, and they just keep coming back.
That's cool.
That
It
sounds
is.
amazing.
Twain,
it is.
Twain what? I'm writing
Twain
this down.
Harte. Twain like Mark Twain, and Harte, Harte. For any of you listeners out there who want to visit the lovely Sierra Mountains in California, I recommend Twain Harte.
Awesome. Okay, well, when you're at Twain Harte, what's your favorite smell?
My favorite smell? Pine trees.
Favorite season?
Well, San Francisco doesn't have seasons. We have foggy, and there's about 2 months of not foggy. But when I did live in a place that had seasons, my favorite season is springtime.
Pumpkin spice or apple cider?
Apple cider.
Yeah.
That was a tough one. You stumped me.
All right.
What are you reading or listening to lately?
I'm reading Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I am recently trying to be a little more outdoorsy. I'm doing some more hiking and some more camping. And luckily, Cheryl's inspiring me to do more, despite the fact that her toenails fell off. She still makes me want to go out into the wild and not hide at home in my bed.
Toenails fell off.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Remind me not to read that.
Yeah, right.
It's still great. I highly recommend it. Despite the toenail scenes, it's still a great read.
How about the make, model, and color of your first car?
So that's actually a really good question, because I inherited a car from my father that was an old Corsica, and it was worth so little that when it needed a paint job, he refused to pay enough to match the color white that the car was previously. So the front was red, and the top was green, and the back was pink, and the sides were still white. So we
Nice.
called it the not so white car.
That's fabulous.
Fantastic.
It was a way to get noticed.
It was. People recognized me around town. People definitely knew me at school.
Congratulations, Sam. You passed the lightning round.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Lightningly
feel loose
slow.
and limber now.
All right, so let's dive in and learn a little bit more about what you do and who you are. Tell us about yourself and your role as a regional account executive with LinkedIn Learning.
So I joined LinkedIn Learning about 3 months ago, and I am responsible for being the primary point person for government agencies in 7 states in the Midwest. And it's my job to make sure that they, first of all, if they want it, they have access to LinkedIn Learning. And second of all, that they know how to use it to best advantage to help their employees. And it's not just government employees for internal staff development. I also work with workforce development boards, which is really exciting, making sure that our online learning content is available to people who are unemployed, veterans, people who are disabled, and members of the community who are looking for work.
So how does LinkedIn Learning decide what new courses to develop?
So that's a process. We have a lot of members on our staff who are responsible for content, and they get a lot of feedback from our customers. We have a lot of customers in both the private and the public sector, and so they're constantly listening to those learners and what they're interested in learning. But also, LinkedIn has an extensive amount of data on skills in the workplace. We have 650 million members, 30 million companies, 20 million open jobs. And we also ask people what skills they're looking for in jobs. And we ask employees what skills they have and what skills they're interested in learning. And we take that data and we use it to inform our decisions when we're making courses.
So when you're talking about all this data, do you ever, I know you probably look at like some of the top courses that are watched, and do you ever look at the courses that are not watched? Or what do you do with those?
So we do retire courses. And some of that is because we never want our courses to look out of date in a way that's really jarring to the watcher. You know, when you walk into the DMV and you're watching that safety video that looks like it's from the 1970s, and it takes you out of the moment and it distracts you from your learning. So we don't want that to happen with our videos. So we make sure, first of all, when we're filming, that people are wearing very timeless clothing and that the backgrounds are very consistent. And then also we retire content when it's no longer useful, and we refilm it and make sure that it feels current and fresh.
So how many courses are there? What kind of topics do you cover?
So we just hit a new milestone. We now have 15,000 courses available on LinkedIn Learning in 7 different languages.
Wow.
Wow.
It's amazing.
And we add another 50 to 60 courses per week. So it's growing all the time. We cover a lot of different topic areas. We like to divide our library into what we call business, creative, and technology. So business would be everything from leadership and management, soft skills like communication, but also business software that we use every day like Outlook or Excel. Creative, we have a lot of content on photography, video recording, creative professions, design. And then technology, we have courses on software languages that people need to know, IT development, cybersecurity, those sorts of things.
One of the things that I think might be interesting to state teammates is how many courses have been completed within the last 6 months by state employees?
Employees of the state of Nebraska have watched 5,000 courses in the last 6 months. And a course is about an hour to 3 hours long and covers a full skill that you might want to learn. But they've watched 53,000 videos in the last 6 months.
Wow.
And videos are the little bite-sized components that make up those courses. And so sometimes you just need to learn something really simple that you can learn in 3 minutes. And maybe you don't need to watch a whole course, and you just capture that in a video.
You said 53,000.
53,000 videos in the last 6 months.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's a lot of learning.
It is.
Do you have any idea how that compares to other states? Because we like to win.
Well, Nebraska was actually one of our first states to ever offer LinkedIn Learning to all state employees. You guys are really on the cutting edge in terms of offering online learning content. So we've seen other states join on now, but you guys were really our leaders in the thought that this is a great benefit to offer to every single employee at the state to learn and grow.
So with all of those choices, with over 15,000 different courses to choose from, how do I decide what courses I should take? As a user, where do I even start?
So that really depends. Sometimes it's just a matter of thinking about the places where you get stuck every day. Thinking about where you feel anxious at work and starting to hone in on the videos that are available for those skills, whether that's having a difficult conversation with your boss, maybe you're really nervous going into performance reviews, or a particular software that you need to use for a project and you're not really sure where to start. And starting with those can maybe unlock things. You see other related content that you want to follow up on. Or I really recommend asking your coworkers what they've watched that's made a difference in their life. Some courses you just learn a little bit of nugget of information and maybe you forget it in a few weeks. But there are courses that you watch that really change the way that you work. And it's great if you can share that with others. So ask your coworkers what courses really made a difference, and that's a great place to start for those aha moments for yourself.
Speaking of that, do you have a few recommendations? What kind of courses do you like?
I just finished a course called Communicating with Confidence that I found very helpful for situations like this where I need to communicate. My job as a salesperson is communication heavy, so that's a skill that I really need to continue to improve on. I'm also watching a course right now on stress management at the office, which I think is hugely helpful. And even just thinking about stress from the biological, scientific angle can help break it down and make it a lot more manageable. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm a big Excel whiz. I love Excel. I love doing things very efficiently with my data. So I really enjoy our Excel content as well.
That's interesting, too, that you're talking about your current position. So just continual learning, not only expanding the things you want to know about, but also refining and just getting better and better at your core skill sets. That's cool.
And those core skill sets can help lead you down the path to the skills that you want in the future. Maybe there's a component of your job that you really enjoy, that you want to get better at, that could lead you to a new position in the future. Maybe you really enjoy having conversations with your coworkers and you want to move into a leadership role because that's what's really impactful to you, is helping other people.
What sets LinkedIn Learning apart from other content choices that are out there, say YouTube or what have you?
So what we hear from our customers is that what really sets us apart is our content and the convenience and the curation. So our content is super high quality. We film everything in-house, so we're not sourcing things from a bunch of disparate places, and that means that our content can be very consistent. So all of our instructors are experts in their field. They're not paid actors, they're not phonies, they are authors, they're business leaders who really know what they're talking about, and they're still doing it every day. They're living and breathing it. And then we also make sure that they're really good communicators, that they're good, strong speakers, that they're interesting, that they're somebody that you want to watch and you want to engage with. So we have really high quality content. And also, the fact that we have so many courses makes it really easy to find something that's personalized to you. You can create a very customized, personalized experience for yourself. And that it's really convenient, that it's formatted in a way where you can jump around in the content to exactly the piece of information that you need at any given moment, that you don't have to be forwarding or rewinding a 3-hour course to find the part that you want. It's all very clearly labeled and you can jump around in the contents.
I love that you also use speakers that are in the industry as well. So it's not like you're coming up with new content, but you're also kind of almost supporting the local guy in a way. That's pretty cool.
And our authors are really involved. Our authors, we actually have a new feature now where you can do a Q&A, and our authors generally respond. They're very engaged with the platform. And actually, most of our authors come to us because they know the quality of the LinkedIn Learning content and they're interested in becoming authors. So we are out there looking for people who are experts in the field and asking authors and business leaders to come be authors for us, but we're also fielding applications a lot.
We have been with you guys for a long time, like you said, state of Nebraska, and one of the things that I think the state of Nebraska has appreciated is not only the content, and people do pay attention, and it's amazing because usually when you're going through an online learning, it's like, oh, okay, I can do these other things. People do pay attention. You do have experts in the field, and you have people that are very engaging. That's the authors and those that do the training, but also from a customer service aspect, you guys have been wonderful to work with.
Well, you guys are an absolute pleasure to work with. I feel like I won the lottery at this job that I get to work with you guys. Because you're the best. Yeah.
Well, one of the
Very
things
fun.
one of the things that I really look for in companies is their customer support. And if it's not there, you don't get the results, and you can't sell people on what you have. But customer service and the customer support is so important. So thank you for just being there when we need you.
And LinkedIn Learning, we really want to drive results. we're not about just getting the sale and getting the product out there. We really want to make it a solution that works for you. And so I am your dedicated relationship manager, but you don't only have access to me, you also have access to Christine Gramlich, who's your ongoing customer success manager. And we do this for all of our customers to make sure that they get the most bang for their buck. They get the most out of the platform, because having all that content there isn't enough. You have to use it. You have to build it into your systems. You have to continually advertise it to remind people that this is a resource that they have available to them. And that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work as an internal team to manage that. And so when I get to work with a customer like the state of Nebraska that has an amazing training team that's so devoted to making sure that employees have resources, that they have these opportunities, that they're growing in their careers, and that they're happy here at the state, it's a pleasure to work with, because you know what you're doing and you care. And so we can really work together to make it happen.
I'm curious, around the table, including you, Sam, if you've taken a course online through LinkedIn Learning, by going out to the EDC and finding a course that you need or having it assigned to you, either way, is there something that you've taken that really stands out as a favorite?
I do. One of the courses that I took, I really had to learn a lot about LinkedIn Learning for selling to agencies on their 2019-2020 bundle. So I jumped in and I took a bunch of courses. I was building the catalog for all the courses that we offered in one program and need to switch to InDesign. And so I hadn't used InDesign. I jumped into LinkedIn Learning. I took the course. I think it took an hour and a half, I'm not quite sure, maybe 2 hours, and was able to open InDesign and immediately start using it. That was so incredibly cool, because I had already built this one, graphic, but I had to totally switch directions. I already had all the content, I already had the design, but to be able to then implement it right away and just no hesitation, just keep it moving. It's a 2-hour learning curve, if you will, and that was because of the course. And so to be able to get a change in direction, learn the skill I needed to, and then keep moving was incredible. And I would not have been able to do that without LinkedIn Learning.
I think my experience was pretty similar, but kind of in the opposite direction. I had to learn Adobe Captivate and Articulate 360. And, learning those software programs, they're very intensive programs that have a lot of features. And so I took a LinkedIn Learning class on those, but what I appreciated about it was it came with exercise files. I could download the files and work on the same project as the instructor. I knew exactly where to click. I knew exactly how to do everything, because I was using the same materials that they were using. And another thing that I appreciated, I know we said one class, but what I appreciate was LinkedIn Learning had a lot of additional add-on classes. So I took kind of the basic class, how to use the software program, but it also had a lot of classes where I could say, okay, now I'm going to focus on this area of Captivate, and I could learn more about specifically that, and again, use those exercise files. But then I also was able to find classes on some of the theory behind it as well. So I took a class on the neuroscience of learning, kind of to cement all of that together. So I know I said one class, not one class, but having that range of classes was what I thought was really helpful.
I tend to use our EDC portal a lot like YouTube. If there's something that I need to pick up pretty quick, just search it in EDC. And so I'm sure my transcript is littered, and I probably have watched one video from this one and 2 videos from this one, but one stands out. I was working in another agency before I came here, and was tasked with developing a new supervisor curriculum, just a single course. But I'm like, so what are the things we could hit on? And one of those was definitely having those difficult conversations. And I probably will never forget when I found this course. It was Dr. Britt Andrietta. And
I was going to recommend Britt Andrietta.
And she's just so conversational and warm, and yet the principles were just dead on what I needed to pick up in order to translate it for new supervisors. So that's my favorite.
Awesome. I concentrate in my work primarily on instructor-led training, but I found a lot of really cool ways to use the online LinkedIn learning in some of those instructor-led experiences for learners, taking more of a blended approach. And one thing that I do in particular that I think is really impactful is I love the time management fundamentals class, and I go back and I watch parts of that every now and then. But there's an exercise file from that class on switch tasking, and when we have orientation for our big leadership certificate, as an instructor, a constant struggle for me in those classes is to keep their attention and keep them off their phones and engaged with what we have going on in the room. So at orientation, we go over class norms and how we're going to be respectful, and we're going to, and I have them do that switch tasking activity, which shows them that the human brain really can't multitask, even though we like to think it can and we like to feel really busy. What we're really doing is switching quickly back and forth between tasks. And the activity, it's a very short activity. It does a great job of showing just how bad we are at it. It takes much longer, and we just are riddled with errors when we try and bounce back and forth. So we do that activity, and then I say, okay, so what did we learn? And they always say, well, you can't do two things at once, and you can't concentrate, and you have to focus on one thing and then the other. And I say, okay, so let's apply that to cell phones in class. And everybody takes their phone off the table immediately and sheepishly shoves it into there. But it's something that I use as a, and I can tell them, you'll be much more focused if, you don't look at your cell phone in class, and that's not going to be as meaningful as a demonstrated activity showing them really how bad they are at multitasking. So that's something that I don't even show any of the video in the class, but I've used that activity with really excellent results.
And I can attest to that. She used it Monday.
I did.
With the leaders of learners.
Yes.
So, and it's a great option. I think one of the things that I appreciate and the class that I took, and I've taken a few classes, but one of them was executive leadership. And I was prepared for a lot of theory and a lot of... I was really prepared to be bored, actually. And it wasn't at all. It was all common sense. It was effective listening. It was how to effectively look at, kind of put your vision into action. It was about teamwork. It was about people working together to meet that vision. And it just amazed me. And I keep that one, and I go back to it every once in a while because I thought that was a really good class. And it may have been Dr. Britt who did that one as well, but kept my attention all the way through it. On the other side, Excel pivot tables. I do them so seldomly that I do have that one bookmarked so that I can go back to that every once in a while. So I think those are the ones that
That's one of our number one examples of how to use LinkedIn Learning in the course of your work is that if you need to know how to do a pivot table and you can't remember, you can watch, I think it's like a 3 or 4 minute video.
And it is the easiest thing, but for some reason I cannot remember it. I think it's my crutch. I just know, I want to log in and just
But it only
watch
goes
it again.
to 3 minutes, so it's not a very harmful crutch.
Speaking of the 3 minutes, can you talk a little bit about the 8 and 8 and the 5 and 5 that you mentioned today?
So one piece of advice that I heard from a fellow coworker at LinkedIn who doesn't even work in LinkedIn Learning, they work in another division at LinkedIn, but we're all learners. And they said that a great piece of advice that they heard is 8 at 8 and 5 at 5. And that means 8 minutes in the morning when you walk in the door to the office, puts you in the right frame of mind, a growth mindset, ready to start your day. And then you watch another 5 minutes right before you leave. Close out your day, do a little work cool down before you get in the car and head home. And that's a great way to start chipping away at your larger learning goals in a very manageable way with your busy schedule.
I think that's awesome.
Yes. Debbie touched on the fact that Sam spoke to a group today. We had our training open house for the year, and it was a wonderful event. If you missed it, that's okay. We'll do it again next year. But Sam was here and she gave us a preview of some of the cool things happening with LinkedIn Learning. You mentioned about CEUs that are available for particular certifications. Talk to us a little more about that.
So LinkedIn has been building relationships with certifying boards to make sure that our content is useful for people who either want or already have certificates. So we have a number of certification prep courses. If you want to get certified in Microsoft software, you can take all of the prep work that you need on LinkedIn Learning. It's all marked Cert Prep or Certification Prep in our course titles, and you can watch all of that content and you're ready to go straight to Microsoft and take that exam. Also, we work closely with organizations like NASBA, SHRM, PMI, to make sure that we are fulfilling their requirements for continuing education units. So if you hold a CPA and you have regular PDUs that you need to fulfill, you can watch that coursework on LinkedIn Learning and report it to the certifying board to get those credits.
That's great.
That is great.
It's very convenient to be able to watch it in your own time whenever you want. And a lot of courses qualify, so you can take a wide variety of courses to fill those units.
Well, I think we're about out of time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
As LinkedIn Learning, aside from the 8 and 8 and 5 and 5, how is LinkedIn, or how are you on your own basis using LinkedIn Learning?
So I'm relatively new to LinkedIn, but it's been incredible over the last 3 months, the onboarding process and the culture of learning that LinkedIn has. And some of that is our own product, LinkedIn Learning, and some of that is our training team, just like yours here at the state of Nebraska, creating those opportunities. So for instance, my onboarding, I had a full week of onboarding of in-person training. And before I ever left to do that training, I had 12 hours of online learning content that I had several weeks to complete in my first weeks on the job on LinkedIn Learning. And that ability to flip the classroom made my time in the classroom so much more impactful. I felt so much more confident walking into the room, knowing that I had the basics. And actually, one of the courses in my pre-work for my onboarding training was by Dr. Britt Andriata, and it was an introduction to learning and development, which blew my mind. It was so good, so interesting, and it was a great way to be introduced to the learning and development industry that I was just joining, to hear from this great leader in the industry the basics of the kinds of questions that I would start grappling with in my new job. And also, that continues every day at LinkedIn. We talk about learning all the time, whether that's with our managers, in our one-on-ones, in our performance reviews. As a company, we have a lot of focus on learning always. So we have a learning week coming up where there will be a competition in between all of the departments at LinkedIn, not just on our learning teams, to see which department has the highest percentage of employees who watch at least 30 minutes of LinkedIn Learning content. And this is something that we just bake into our daily lives at the office. And it means that no matter what you want to learn, you have the opportunity. We have employees who learned video programming software in their spare time, and now they're creating fun videos for the whole team to share, and that's spotlighted and it's celebrated, and it makes LinkedIn a really fun place to work.
And that's 30 minutes does not seem like a whole lot, especially for being LinkedIn Learning. I mean,
Yes.
30 minutes. Is that in the week? Is that per day?
Oh, that's in a week. Yes.
In a week.
For
I
this
think that's
particular
definitely doable.
contest, it's in
Yeah.
a week. That's very doable. So hopefully our sales team division will get to 100% and we'll get that trophy.
If you do more, do you get more points, or
Not
once
for this
you
particular
okay.
contest, but we've done many.
Okay.
There are times when there's contests for the most number of hours watched, the most new skills learned. This particular one is making sure that everybody's learning.
We will be cheering for you and the sales team.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think I can do it. I think I can make it.
I think you can too.
With all the recommendations I've heard right now in this podcast recording, I think I have more than enough content
Yeah.
on my to-watch
Boom.
list.
Well, we're here for you.
Thank you, team.
So, Sam, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your presentation today. It's just been a wonderful day, and we're glad that you came and shared it with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really hope, I've got my fingers crossed that I'll get that invitation for the training open house next year.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Training Blend. We release new episodes of this podcast monthly. make sure you follow us at Any State Training on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and State of Nebraska Training and Development on LinkedIn to make sure you don't miss a single episode. Until next time.